Coming up tonight, the Beetle pest no Dalo farmer wants to see, civil servants undergo another diplomatic course, and Fiji takes its voice to the biggest climate change meet in Durban, South Africa. Good evening, you're watching Fiji Today News. Taro beetle has been confirmed in the island of Gau by the Department of Agriculture. A team of experts dispatched to the island have confirmed the presence of the taro infests in 3 villages. The Department of Agriculture in cautioning the public on the issue, given the repercussions beetle infestations have towards the taro industry in the country.
The Department of Agriculture is calling on the traveling public not to move taro planting materials, corns, and soil from areas infected with taro beetles to non-infected areas during this festive season. This after the confirmed presence of the taro beetle at the Gau Islands in the Lomaiviti group. Beetle damages on taro corns were noted and live beetles were found in dal farms in Nadavanandi, Nabukailangi, and Lobu. The department's director within Research Division, Milia Kerenawaikula, says that at Nabukailangi, 3 taro beetles were found in separate taro corns within a farm, and all these sightings were within 20 meters from the Savulevu Creek. Nawaikula says the Department of Agriculture will work with the Biosecurity Authority of Fiji and relevant stakeholders to try and control the spread of taro beetle on the island and to neighboring islands. A thorough survey will be done as soon as possible on Gau and its 2 neighboring islands of Nairai and Batiki, as people of these islands interact a lot due to the proximity of the islands. Meanwhile, taro beetle is the single biggest threat to Fiji's multi-million-dollar taro industry and was first recorded in Fiji in 1984 at Vaisari near Suva. Since then, the beetle has spread to Naitasiri, Tailevu, Ra, Nandronga, Ovalau, and Buda Bay. Taro beetle is mostly confined to the moist conditions of river and creek banks, and it destroys taro via sweet potatoes and yams, to name a few.
The second induction course for diplomatic service was conducted by the Public Service Commission and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the Government Training Center in Nasese this morning. The courses are timely given government's stance on expanding international relations and the opening of 3 new foreign missions in Indonesia, South Africa, and Brazil earlier this year.
Pillar 3 of the People's Charter for Change, Peace and Progress states ensuring effective, enlightened and accountable leadership. It further highlights that we need leaders who are committed, positive, visionary, transformative and constructive. To address this, PSC, in collaboration with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, conducted this training to train our diplomats to serve in overseas missions.
The People's Charter, ladies and gentlemen, Pillar 3, calls for enhancing global integration and international relations. And to address this objective, the government's roadmap stipulates that Fiji recognizes that it must reassert itself to regain its rightful place in the regional and international family of nations. The success of this objective is highly dependent on the skills and expertise of officers who staff the Fiji mission in different parts of the world. Accordingly, there is a need to build up the capacity of staff who will serve in all the Fiji missions abroad.
Dr. Akanisi Kandriate, who was the chief guest at the training this morning, says, given the rapid changes occurring through globalization and the need to promote Fiji in the international arena, there is a need to train officers who can become leaders and represent our country.
Basically, the main objective of this induction course is to ensure that all officers recommended for overseas missions possess the core competencies for the job. This program will also allow for a ready pool of officers who will be available for overseas posting at any point in time.
Government strategy to allow for transparency and accountability in the selection of officers. The appointment of staff for Fiji missions will be selected from this pool of officers. Topics for discussion at the training are Fiji Foreign Policy Setting Institution, International Environment for Diplomatic Practice and Rule, Role and Management of Diplomatic Relations, Building Political Relations and Diplomatic Privileges. Foreign diplomats and former Fijian diplomats are also invited as speakers at the training.
Still on the diplomatic training, Lieutenant Colonel Naomi Leweni, who is one of the participants at the training, says that international relations is something that needs to be explored on how best we can interact with other countries. Leweni, who himself will take up the consular position at our embassy in the People's Republic of China, believes the training will prepare diplomats to understand the new mode of diplomacy.
This type of training basically equips future diplomats on how to behave, how to interact. Because as you know, sometimes we go out on diplomatic missions when we need to sit down and have discussions with other people. Sometimes people are lost, but just to actually be comfortable around other diplomats. So that's something that we'd like to learn from this training as things keep changing. And I've served in the diplomatic mission for 1 year, and there has been changes in how we do things abroad, and that's basically what I'd like to gain out of this workshop, is to see what is the new mode of diplomacy.
Fiji continues to take a bold stand when it comes to climate change. As one of the many countries in the world to experience the effects of climate change itself, Fiji has voiced its opinions at the ongoing COP17 climate change meet currently underway in Durban, South Africa. Fiji's permanent secretary at the Environment Ministry here in Fiji, Taina Tangakimbau, is leading a high-level delegation and has told participating delegates at the meet that the processing of the Climate Change Fund needs to be accelerated to address what she termed the worsening effects of climate change.
Fiji, together with other nations of the world, called on the 17th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and the 7th Conference of the Parties serving as the meeting of the parties to the Kyoto Protocol that has been meeting in Durban, South Africa from 28th November to 9th December 2011 to quickly operationalize the Green Climate Fund. In her address, the alternative head of Fiji's delegation and permanent secretary for local government, urban development, housing and environment, Taina Tangakimbau, informed participants of the need to quickly address climate change issues and the funding that needed to follow this. Countries agreed at UN talks in Cancun last year to work on setting up a green climate fund this year in Durban. It's part of a broader agreement aimed at fighting climate change. A 40-member committee spent 7 months drafting rules for the fund's structure and governance. In other developments, other members of the Fiji delegation actively engage COP in separate discussions on other agenda items, such as how best to link research and technology development with adaptation actions, finalizing the legal framework on opportunities for markets to enhance cost effectiveness and promote mitigation actions. Tangakimbau is accompanied by Fiji's High Commissioner to South Africa, Ben Saladakau, the acting Deputy Secretary at Fiji's Foreign Affairs Ministry, Mr. Penitamini Lomaloma, and the Lami Town Council CEO, Ms. Priya Ali. The Minister for Local Government and Environment, Colonel Samuela Samutua, will join the delegation later.
We'll take a break now, but coming up, more on the climate change meet in Durban. Stay with us.